We have certificate programs, as I said, for French, German, and Arabic, including Spanish and Chinese and Japanese at the Center for Languages and Communication. Spanish beginners and advanced, what are the main outlines of the curriculum? We have, of course, language learning, oral written comprehension, the simple basic skills. We have the social cultural aspects of Spanish. We have something we call echoes from the Hispanic community, where we do comparative literature, we do policies, comparative economic policies, etc., etc. We also have something that is interesting, where we try to study the linkages between African realities and Spanish policies, whether in the past or in the present. So we are far from Spain, but we think that we are connected because of globalization that was being talked about by our preceding speakers. We also offer working skills in Spanish. For example, translation, computer skills in Spanish, and Spanish for special purposes. You may wonder, why do we need Spanish for special purposes? But we get researchers, we get doctors who are working on HIV/AIDS mainly, and they need specialized translators who can work with them, even towards the local languages. So we get people who want to learn Spanish for doctors, Spanish for engineers, etc., and for diplomacy, for diplomatic services. In the department, if we can say that the most recent cooperation initiatives that we've got, apart from those under French, German, and Arabic, as I've told you, the French embassy has been supporting us. The German embassy also supports us in terms of materials, in terms of capacity building, in terms of exchange programs. External examiners, I don't know whether you have external examiners in Salamanca. They're usually supported by embassies. And in Arabic, we've been supported by Libya. So apart from those supports, we are now starting to get support for Chinese, supported by the Chinese government, under the China Scholarship Council. Last Monday, we sent 2 candidates files for MA in Chinese philology and in Chinese as a foreign language. It is under a program which is called 2020. They have chosen the best 20 universities in China, and they're matching them with the best 20 universities in Africa. In the case of Makerere University, we are working with the University of Shanghai. I'm still trying to pronounce it properly. And in terms of Spanish, we have been supported by the Spanish Agency for International Cooperation and Development and the Spanish Embassy in Nairobi. From 2006 up to last year, we have been getting short-term contracts of young, dynamic people like you who are finishing their master's degree and who would like to come for maybe 6 months, for maybe 9 months abroad to practice the teaching of Spanish. We have also had students on the campus who have been doing certificate courses in Spanish, and so far 30 of them have sat for daily 1 and 2. And I think that the success rate was about 80%, which is not very bad. We've had 3 MAs who have come for training and 3 PhD candidates in Spain. Unfortunately, these trainings are not necessarily in the languages. They get universities, they get admissions, and they get supported by the Spanish Agency for Cooperation. It's not in our control. That's why we would like a cooperation program where the training is decided by us. Then we can say we want 3 MAs in comparative literature. We want 2 PhDs in Spanish philology. It will be easier for us to control the inputs and the outcomes. The progress so far, Our strategic line of action in the department has been focusing on training those students who we have mobilized for short courses, with the hope that we will transform them later into full-time students when the Spanish course opens. These are students who are taking other courses on campus, like students of medicine, students of botany, students of accounting, students of political science, students of anthropology. We have all types of students who come, even mathematics and music, especially music. We found that very interesting because we use music in teaching Spanish. And when we dance salsa, ooh, it's very, very nice. It's very, very nice. It's very, very popular. And it has brought us very good students. Another principle which we keep in mind is capacity building for Ugandan teachers of Spanish. We have very, very few teachers, and we would like to develop more teachers of Spanish, especially Spanish as a foreign language. In other words, our whole approach has been anchored in equitable exchange and transfer of skills through an intercultural language learning approach. That's why we use salsa for teaching. We watch films from Spain, films on toreados and etc. We have very exciting times, and we've been attending concerts in Spanish music when they do come to East Africa, because we think that it is through intercultural exchange that language becomes a friendly way of knowing the other and eliminating stigma, discrimination, biases. We think that it's one way of bringing social justice nearer to the people. What are our constraints? Our constraints have been that, as I told you, our teachers who come for Spanish come on very short-term contracts. The assistant lecturers who come under the cooperation assistance, they do not stay for long. They cannot help us a lot in terms of curriculum development. You can imagine, with my Poquito Español, I was the one coordinating the curriculum development. Seguro, it has a lot of errors, muchas faltas, of course. But it is an effort to say that we can do it, even when we are not perfect. And if we can get partners abroad, we can do it even better. If we could sit, for example, with the specialists with PhDs from Egypt, specialists who have been teaching in Ghana, and our friends from here, I think we can do a good thing. What is most important is to get the commitment from the people, from the community which wants to learn the language. And that one, por seguro, we have it. Another constraint, I think there are more constraints there, but they're very quick. We have very little time to invest in learning material development. So we end up with having to buy books every year because the student needs the book. It's expensive, and once the book is lost, you cannot replace it. If we can develop materials locally, it will be more sustainable. The content focus, we would like it to be more on language learning, but every time we get blocked because the British teaching of learning language was more towards social linguistics and theory. We also have inadequate long-term planning, and of course, as it has been talked about by the other presenters, we lack resources, infrastructure, financial, human resources. Now, what do we expect? When I was preparing to come for this exchange discussion, I was telling myself that there are at least 4 things which I would be very happy to achieve if I could. First of all, if we could exchange information and enrich the course content and the structure of the program that we have of Spanish, I would be very happy. If we could discuss ways and means of mobilizing the required resources, especially for the initial population, the initial groups, that would be lovely. If we could widen the initial concept of the language program to cover other key functions of my university, because my university has key functions like learning, like teaching, but also research, publication, and knowledge transfer partnerships. Knowledge transfer partnerships. That is the most innovative way of cooperating. We really hope that we will have a knowledge transfer partnership with the University of Salamanca. We would also like to consider ways of working with other universities like Cairo, like Salamanca, like University of Ghana. We would like to see how we can work together on the same initiatives and have not only sisi tusaidiane, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, but sisi tusaidiane, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Spain, Egypt, Brussels, etc.